Hello, my name is Toby Staley, and I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Cassio Wernick. Been a black belt for about 9 years now, and I've been meaning to make a couple of videos, maybe do some videos on some of the unwritten rules of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of the unwritten rules of starting your Jiu-Jitsu training from your knees. I do know there's a lot of controversy over whether you should start jiu-jitsu from your knees or whether you should start from standing every time. And there's a lot of arguments. I've seen a lot of arguments that people should be starting from their feet every time. I'm not going to get into that at the moment, other than to say that a lot of matches start from the knees. So the thing is, with starting from the knees, both people start on their knees, and a number of things can happen. Okay, in the most ideal situation, starting from the knees allows one person to pull guard and the other person to start working their pass right from the beginning and kind of get into the meat and potatoes of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But since nobody really talks about that, that's the idea of starting from the knees, is so that one person plays guard and one person passes. People tend to jockey for best position starting from the knees. It's a very artificial position to start in. If there's an actual match, you would be starting standing. And if one person's on their knees, they're either going to stand up or they're going to pull guard. Starting from the knees, though, what happens a lot of times is one person trying to get best position will stand up, and they will do what I call the bull rush, where they will stand up and overwhelm the other person who's still on their knees. I feel that this is one of the most dangerous parts of starting on the knees. In fact, I've even had a student dislocate their ankle because the other person bull rushed them straight over their feet. Now, while standing up to overwhelm your opponent isn't technically against the rules, if you are the person that's on the bottom, you tend to be upset if somebody tries to jockey for position in that way. Okay? And so there are a couple of things, and it's not against the rules, and sometimes the person standing, or most of the time the person standing, doesn't even realize that they're doing something that's kind of rub the person on their knees the wrong way. So what you have to realize is if you're starting from your knees and somebody stands up, you have two options, and it's your job to protect yourself. Okay, so your two options are, by standing up, they're indicating that they are willing to work a takedown game with you. If you're on your knees and someone stands, you should stand too. The other thing you can do just to protect yourself is to sit back to guard. Okay, and sitting back to guard will protect your knees and your ankles in case he actually drives his weight on top of you. So it is very important that you protect yourself, but at the same time, there kind of is an unwritten rule or an unwritten language going on between two people when they start from their knees. You see a lot of times, as soon as it starts, or even sometimes before the match starts, one person will already sit to their butt. That is a nonverbal communication that lets the other person know that they want to play their guard game from the beginning. They didn't say anything, but by sitting to their butt, they're indicating they want to do the guard. Okay? It can be kind of annoying if you sit to your butt and the other person's on their knees, and then once the match starts, the other person sits to their butt too. It's like they didn't really understand your nonverbal communication, but the funny thing is, nobody told you that that was what they were saying. So there's nothing wrong with the other person sitting, but then they didn't get it. Okay? So realize if you start from your knees and someone sits to their butt, they're basically saying to you they want to play their guard. Vice versa, on the other end, if the person wants to play the top position and they do understand that maybe bull rushing, standing up and bull rushing the person isn't the most friendly thing to do, what they might do instead is give you a push backwards from their knees. This isn't an indication that they want to do knee wrestling, which is not particularly useful. Again, most people are not going to end up in a match on their knees facing each other. One person is either going to pull guard or stand in that situation, or both people. Okay? So if you push against someone else, that's again a nonverbal communication to let the other person know that you want them to pull guard and they're trying to work their pass game. Okay? So if I tend to start my matches by either sitting to my butt which is the most, once I sit to my butt, they don't really, almost no matter what they do, neither one of us are getting hurt. So it's easy. And I do that a lot just because I don't want to talk about all of these things I'm talking about in this video. But if I want to work my passing game against somebody, I will give them a little nudge with my hand to let them know, or like lean into them, push on them just a little bit to let them know that I'm going to start working my pass game and try and see if they'll sit to their butt. If they don't, I typically sit to my guard personally just to make sure that the match keeps going and we don't end up knee wrestling. So the other thing I do as an instructor in my class is I try to just set this rule right off the bat so that everyone knows and nobody gets upset with each other for things that nobody talked about. So my rule in general when starting the match from the knees is if one person's on their knees, you do not stand. Okay? It's just a simple way of making sure that you don't frustrate the other person. If they're on their knees, you don't stand until one person sits to their butt or lays to their back. If their butt is on the mat or they lay on their back, then you stand up. And that just stops that bull rush situation. The other thing is I just let everybody know that typically if somebody sits to their butt, they're telling you they want to work guard, or if they push into you, they're telling you they want to work their pass. And you can either accommodate or, again, this is all nonverbal. Remember, you guys, in free roll is free roll. You can start from one person in the guard. You can start from one person side control. If there's something you want to work on, be verbal, explain to your partner, and offer to go back and forth. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on starting from the knees. And again, a situation where a lot of people don't talk about all these things. Thanks for watching my video. I'll see you next time.